Uh, welcome, welcome everyone to our first discussion group. Today we are going to present two readings, and the team members are Ruth, Pepe, and Alex, and I, Paula. So the two readings that we are working on, it's the first one, it's Start Taking It's and Silent Learning During Open Class Discussion by Michael Carras. And the second one is How Rude, Teaching in Politeness in the Second Language Classroom, by Gerard Mudford. So let's start with the first question that says, before reading this article, were you aware of various impolite situations in everyday life? Who wants to be the first one to answer this question? Maybe Ruth, Alex, or Pepe?
Yeah, me.
Okay, Pepe, go ahead.
Before read this article, I didn't know about so many situations. There are some examples about show authority or be disrespectful with a client, a customer, and many situations that maybe some of us think are very subtle or regular, but actually thinking about that, it can be very aggressive.
Yes, that's right. We can find this kind of situation even inside the classroom. So that's interesting and very um important know it as a teacher. So thank you so much, Pepe, for your answer. Alex or Ruth, do you want to share something about this question? Okay,
Me,
Alex.
I noticed this before. I was aware because of from Les, so the students that came to Guanajuato to learn Spanish, and everybody who is not a teacher, and they tell them to say phrases like no mames or use another type of words, and for them, well, other people teach this to foreigners because they find funny when an American who doesn't speak any Spanish says like "no mames" or "pinche way" or something like this, and then they don't know that this can be impolite to others, and yeah, so people that are not teaching or are not related to this environment of teaching a language, for them it's just funny to see these people speak.
Yes, that's right. For the students in the almost in the old situation of this impoliteness, um, for them they don't notice about the importance of their words, and it's very important to be conscious about what we are saying, because could be really aggressive or impoliteness in this case, the words that we say in the classroom or in the school. So yes, thank you, Alex. Ruth, you want to say something?
Yes, yeah, I was aware of the impolite situations because I think that sadly, nowadays the younger kids are being like more impolite than we were before. So, starting for example with the OXXO ladies,
Mm-hmm.
they are very impolite sometimes, and also the kids, they're losing this culture thing that we have in Mexico about this death, and they talk like if we, I don't know, with to everyone and saying bad words to you. And I think it's something that we live every day. And as Pepe was saying, we kind of say like, oh, it's normal, instead
Mm-hmm.
of finding a way to stop it.
Yeah, yeah, it's right. So we need to be really aware about it. So thank you, Ruth. So let's move on with the second question. Let's say, do you force participation in your classes? What are the consequences? Who wants to be
Um,
first?
I
Alex?
use in my online classes. I try to force participation, but they don't. At the end, they don't participate, and that is very stressful for me because it's like if I come to the meeting, I start the meeting, I speak, I ask, and I answer. and the students, they don't say anything, they don't participate. Even if I tell them, like, if you don't participate, I will make you turn on the cameras, or I will, yeah, discount points from the final grade. They don't care. And in person classes, I applied the strategy of volunteers or victims. And then it's like, if you don't want to participate, I choose one, I say one number from the list, and the person that is on the list participates. And then it's like, okay, now you choose the next person who's going to participate, and that's the thing.
Yeah, that's a great, good strategy for promote the participation in class, or in this case, force the participation, because I feel you. I have some situations that I want my students participate, but just I see their faces is like, I don't want to, and I need to force the participation. And for me, it's a little bit difficult because the most appropriate would be that for for the on for their own, I don't know how to say, for por su propia cuenta, for own account, participate in when you ask for the participation. So yeah, it's difficult. Thank you, Alex. Ruth, you want to say something?
Yes, I think for me when I was reading, it kind of made, I don't know, difficult to understand and to recognize that not all people needs to participate to be learning. So, I think it's very interesting that as teachers we also need to identify if our students like they is their way of learning, so we shouldn't be like forcing too much, because I think one of the consequences may be that they can lose like confidence in the classroom. They don't want it to even come into the class
Mm-hmm.
because they are feeling forced to do something they don't want to. So I think it's something that I personally need to work on,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I want everyone to participate. I have very participative kids, but some of them don't. And even though they don't participate, some of them, because some just don't participate because they don't want to, they don't like the class, whatever. But there are a few that, even though they don't participate too much or whatever, they still have like good understanding of the language. They bring all of their homeworks. They seem to understand it. So I
Yeah.
think too I need to work on when it's necessary to force it, and when we have to understand that that is a way to learn.
Yes, that's right. That's one big consequence that could be happen when we force the participation. The students feel disinteresting or pressure about the class, and they don't want to participate even in the class. So yeah, that's right. Thank you, Ruth. So let's move on with the third one question. So, do you consider it's a good idea to teach impoliteness in a second language classroom? That's an interesting one. Pepe, do you want to say something about this question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe we don't consider something appropriate to teach this kind of language in our classroom. However, sometimes we're not aware about daily life situations that our students can uh, uh, be ready for that. So maybe we just have to teach what are the kind of situations they need to be ready for. And in that case, they can be more prepared, uh, but not to teach the impoliteness itself. It's more like just to be prepared for the situation.
Okay. Okay, that's a good point. Maybe could depend the level that where the students appear this moment. Like, okay, so if you're a kid, you don't be prepared to know about this topic. Maybe when you grow up, it could be, but right now it's not the moment. So great, thank you, Pepe. Uh, Alejandro, Alex, do you want to say something?
I think it is a good idea to teach this kind of things, but I think it's better when it is with advanced students, of course, because they know more, or
Mm-hmm.
they are able to understand these things. But yeah, so I think it's fine to teach it because they need to know. So they are learning a language, they need to know as much or everything about the language. So they, well, the teachers should teach this type of things in their classes.
Okay, that's another point of view. You consider that yes, it's correctly, but in this case, because maybe you have a students that are more in another advanced levels, they'll need to know it. So okay, that's a two different perspective, but both are correctly. So thank you. So Ruth,
Yeah, maybe just to add that depending on the level, the way you're going to manage it. Like for example, maybe for kids, you're not going to be like very formal about it, but maybe starting with tiny things that can mm, educate them about being polite with people. So, for example, not interrupting, things like that. Not going like too serious or too in depth in this topic to maybe more adult or bigger kids.
okay. Okay, that's right. Maybe to prepare to the kids, like remember that you need to be quiet when another classmate are participating, or remember the rules. These kind of little things that could prepare the kids to another things, like could be the impoliteness and stuff. So yes, thank you, Ruth. So let's move on with the question 4. In Mexico, we use impoliteness as a banter. Do you think it will be appropriate for your students to do this approach to draw their attention to the language, the second language? Who wants to be answered this question? Share your comments. Ruth?
Yeah, I think that we need to be like we need to teach that cultures are different, and not because it is okay in your L1 in your the culture of your L1 to do certain things, it is okay to do it in your second language because you're also learning the culture. So I think that is very important that you need to make these points like, okay, maybe we do this in Mexico and it's fine, it's funny, whatever,
Mhm.
but it's not okay when you're talking to this kind of people or
Okay.
the other culture. So I think it's important to teach them like the difference and how far they can go with jokes and those kind of things, depending the culture.
Yeah, you take an important point of this, that is the culture. Everything could depend the culture, so we need to be very aware where, when, and who we are talking about these kind of things, or if we want to make a very rude jokes, or we want to talk with a really impolite words, we need to be really aware about who and where. So yes, that's really important, the culture to consider it. So yes, thank you, Ruth. So Pepe or Alex, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay, Pepe.
Yeah, I think it is pretty obvious that here in Mexico we have a very rich language,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean that in Spanish class we teach that. And again, it is depend of the level, but maybe just uh, be very um, careful about this topic and tell the students that, well, you need to know this, but you cannot use this kind of language in this context and with this kind of people. um, just just to know, um, as a general information for students.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Pepe. So Alex, do you want to say something about this question?
I haven't thought about teaching this in an English class, but I have done that in Spanish when I was working with foreigners because, as I mentioned before, people in Mexico use it and they use it with foreigners, and yeah, so they are not like, oh, he's not from Mexico, I will be careful for what I said or something like this. No, so they just use it because they treat people as other people. And I think it's fine to teach it in a very advanced level so they can understand um, these type of things. For example, in the reading they mentioned, I think I don't remember if it was the word stupid or yeah, I think it's stupid. So for us, it's not very. For us in Mexico, it's very strong if you call stupid or alien, but in English, it's not very offensive. So I think we need to. It's necessary to teach this to make students to be aware about these things.
Okay. The difference that you make is really important because maybe I can say this word and in English, but if you say in Spanish, it's another context and you can take it in another words. So yeah, it's important even differentiate this thing. So thank you, Alex. So let's move on with the question 5. How can educators address cultural difference in the classroom to promote more equitable and effective participation among students? So as we know, maybe sometimes, sorry, in the classroom, we know we notice as a teachers that maybe the communication it's not the it's not the most correctly because we see like the students don't are no aware about the to be quiet at the moment to another classes are participating or maybe they don't respect the turns to talking. So as you as a teacher, how could be address the cultural difference in these kind of situations?
I think it's about mainly adaptation and adaptation of the teaching, the communication, and the different needs that every student um, well, it is about the to be respectful about the ideas of their classmates. And maybe a good idea is to work in small groups to avoid the social pressure and be very culturally sensitive,
Okay.
maybe.
Yes, that's right. Even as a teacher, we can promote a good environment in the classroom to make that the students feeling confidence and trying to be more communicative and feel secure about your thing that you're saying. So yes, that's right. Thank you, Pepe.
Also,
Go ahead.
you can well, so in the classes or you always have students who participate a lot, and on the other hand you have students who don't speak, and it is because their personality is so. Something that you can do it's like um let don't let the students who participate a lot participate and try to focus more on those students who don't
Okay.
participate a lot.
Yes, that's another point. Yes. Thank you, Alex. So let's move on with the last question. That is, how do different turn talking practice, such as telling a turn or interrupt someone, affect the dynamics of classroom conversation? This could be a classroom problematic. So, do you have experience and comments about?
Yeah, I think it happens a lot even with us in the VA, and it kind of breaks like the dynamics, and also I think that it messes up with the confidence of the people who was going to talk, because it makes you feel like if if you maybe it's the first time you're participating and someone just steals your turn, that's going to demotivate you to keep
Yes.
participating. So I think that is very important that we as teachers set up like a really good way of communicating in the classroom, and have like a really good order of how students need to participate, like rules and everything.
Yes, that's right. We need to be really conscious about the to stall the turns to talking could be real dismotivating for the students. So yes, that's right. Thank you so much, Ruth. So we get to the conclusion about these two topics that we discussing. That's to address impoliteness in English language teaching and learning. It's essential that educators foster a culture of respect and courtesy in the classroom. This involves the teaching of or norms of effective communication and promoting active listening and mutual respect among students. Educators should also be attentive to cultural difference that may influence in politeness practice and adapt their teaching approach accordingly. So the turn talking and the politeness could be pueden estar de la mano, so that are very important to taking account as the teachers and promoting in the students, and also can be aware about the levels that we are working on, and try to analyze say that is appropriate or not for the students. So that will be all for or part of for this discussion group. And these are or different references. Sorry. So thank you so much for your attention.